welcome back. Today I am starting a new series. I am calling this From Victim to Victor, and it's a story of my childhood. I've debated over the last about 2.5 years whether or not to do this. I've started recording these videos before and then deleted them, but I finally decided that I was going to start doing this, and I decided kind of around maybe November, December last year that I'd start this in January. So today I'm going to talk about ages 3 to 6. Now I'm going to put a disclaimer in every video, and the disclaimer is, in this series I will be discussing domestic violence, I will be discussing child abuse, sexual assault, sexual abuse, I will be discussing mental illness, hoarding tendencies, neglect. Lovely topics, but I just want to let you know because these could be trigger warnings for people. And so we'll go ahead and get started. I was born in 1972. I was born in Tucson, Arizona. My biological father, his name is Charles, and my biological mother, her name is Vicky. They've both passed away, so I don't feel any need to protect their identities. And when I was 3, or sometime between birth and 3, we had moved to Sacramento. At 3 years old, we moved from Sacramento, California to Illinois, which is where Vicky was from. She was from Illinois, and Charles was from LA. I don't really know the story of how they met for sure. I just know they didn't date very long. A couple weeks, maybe a month before they got married, which I'm thankful they got married, because if they hadn't, I wouldn't be here. But it was not a very healthy relationship. So anyhow, my earliest memories, it was at the age of 3. I can remember leaving Sacramento. I remember the big moving trucks pulling away, and I can remember when my brother was born. I was born in April, he was born in July, so I was 3 years old and like 3 months, and I can vividly remember the day he was born. I remember taking Vicky to the hospital, and my grandma, her mother, coming to get me. I can remember vividly. I remember meeting him for the first time. That's a whole story. I don't think I've talked about that before, but I may do a little video on a funny memory. But anyways, we lived with him until I was 6 years old. I had completed kindergarten and turned 6 in April, and we left sometime in that summer, May, June, July, probably June or July. I don't really know for sure because I don't remember, of course, particular dates. But Charles was not a very nice person. I like to laugh because I like to laugh, and I joke that he is picking on his own pineapple. And if you've ever watched the movie Little Nicky, you know what I'm talking about. I'm going to try to insert a clip here. I don't know if I can, so if I don't, I'll link a link down in the description box so you can see what I'm talking about. But anyhow, yeah, he was not a nice person. He was incredibly abusive to myself, my younger brother, and Vicky. And some of the things that he did to me that I remember is, I can remember him getting angry, and I'm sure I did nothing major. Even if I had, there's no way a 3 or 4-year-old, 5-year-old deserved this kind of abuse, or anybody for that matter. But he would pick me up by my neck and throw me across the room. I can vividly remember that. I can remember him, one time I wanted to play outside. It was on a weeknight, and Vicky had gone to a macrame class. Why I can remember the macrame, I don't know, but this was the 70s, so it was big. And I can remember I was outside playing with my little neighbor friends, and I remember it was time for me to come inside, and I ran away from Charles. Big mistake. When he finally caught me, he took me in, beat the living daylights out of me, and I can remember that vividly. We lived in base housing, which the walls were incredibly thin, but back then people didn't report abuse. It was hidden. And I don't recall him abusing my younger brother, which I'm not going to give his name because he's still with us, of course, and I want to respect his privacy, but I don't recall him doing it, but I know he did. Based on what I know about myself, I know from my Aunt Nancy, which is Vicky's sister, and I'm still in contact with her. I just love Aunt Nancy. She's been able to fill in a lot of gaps for me, but he was abusive to me as an infant. And I don't know why nobody stepped in, but they didn't. I don't know if they feared him or what, but he was not a nice person. So I know he was abusive to my younger brother, but I can remember him beating on Vicky, and I can remember he'd come home from work. I don't know what he did in the Air Force. He was just in the Air Force. And he would come home, and I remember him screaming that he was pissed off. To this day, I do not like that word. I'll use it occasionally, but for the longest time, I wouldn't use it. I would lump that word up there with the F word, which sometimes I do say, but not very often. And so anyhow, yeah, he was a real peach. He would then start in on her and took out his aggressions on her. Whatever happened at work, she bore the brunt of it. I can remember hiding upstairs. We lived in a 2-story, almost like a townhouse. And I can remember taking JR upstairs, and he would have been a toddler, and hiding underneath the bed in his bedroom while Charles beat the living daylights out of Vicky. I can remember one time he beat her so badly that he knocked her out. He took pictures of it, but not only did he do that to her, he made my brother and I stand there and point and laugh. What kind of monster does that? That is, excuse my language, that is effed up. That is terrible behavior. Something that I bear memory of almost 45 years later. I can remember that just like it was yesterday. As far as sexual abuse goes, I can remember vividly walking in on Charles raping Vicky. I was probably 4 years old. I will never, ever, ever forget that. It was traumatizing for me. It was scary. It was strange. I didn't know what it was. Knew what it was, sort of. I didn't know a lot, but I knew that was private and that's something a mom and dad did that had nothing to do with me. So yeah, that tells you kind of what he was. And then also, I don't have memories of this, and I thank God. I'll talk about this more in a future video, but I was able to get access to my childhood medical records, and there is medical records showing that I was abused in the worst possible way. Sorry. That you can abuse a child. And I just thank God. I thank him and praise him that he allowed me to block that out. I have no recollection of that. And I'm very, very thankful for that, because I don't know if I could have handled it. I know it was there, but I don't have particular memories. So for that, I'm very grateful. But yeah, he was a monster. There was nothing redeeming about him, nothing good about him. I have nothing nice to say about the man. I wanted nothing to do with him pretty much for a majority of my life. So anyhow, and I'll talk about more as I got older, a little bit more about him. But yeah, he was a real asshole, excuse my language. But yeah, so it was not a pleasant early childhood. Now, I did go to kindergarten there, and the summer before I started first grade, which would have been, 78, so this would have been 78, Vicky finally got up the nerve, the strength, the courage to leave him. Now, she was best friends with a lady across the street named Fabian. I remember Fabian. I wish I knew her last name. If I did, I would certainly reach out to her, because I would like to know that we turned out okay. All of the kids are healthy. Well, I'm not healthy, but we're, happy, well-adjusted adults who are productive members of society. and we did not continue the cycle of abuse that was given to us. And a little sidebar, I know he was abused as a child. He had some rough times, but you can choose to break a cycle, and we chose to break that cycle. But anyhow, Fabian helped us move. We got a U-Haul, I can remember this. We got the U-Haul, we loaded everything up we owned, except for his clothing, their bed, which was, the base owned the bed and a china cabinet that the base owned. Otherwise, she packed up everything we had. And she moved us to Champaign. She secured an apartment. I do remember we had to be on welfare for a short amount of time while she looked for a job. She was a stay-at-home mom until she left, and she got a job working at the University of Illinois. And I'll talk about more of that later, but anyhow, or in a future video. But he couldn't know where we lived. He had no contact with us. He went over with a gun and threatened to kill Fabian because she wouldn't tell where we were. So that ended one chapter of my life, began a new chapter of my life, which was better in many ways, but was worse in many ways. But we will talk about that in my next video. I don't want to say I hope you enjoy this video, because it's not something that necessarily you would enjoy, but I hope this video helps you understand the consequences of abuse and the long-term effects it can have on people. And so I appreciate you letting me share my journey with you. And also I'm going to link down below links for domestic violence help, sexual abuse help, anything I can think of that would help. All right, I will talk to you guys later. I hope you have a great day. Don't forget, not every day is good, but there is always something good in every day. I'll see you next time.